Alright, hello, this is RueshTV and I'm bringing you a pre-patch Arcane 7.0.3, and this is really my first time looking at the Arcane other than what I did in Legion beta that I made a video for. So there has been a little bit of changes for that, so I figured I'd bring you something along with the other three specs of the mage class. So for the Legion changes, for the Arcane Mage, there's just one huge change for Mastery for the Arcane Mage, and it is the damage no longer scales off the current mana level. It's just a straight increase of damage. Let's see what the text has to say about that. Savant. It's called Savant. Increases your mana regeneration rate and increased maximum mana by 19%. Arcane charges increase the damage of the affected spell by an additional 9.48%. So it no longer scales off how much mana you have when you're casting. So you don't have to play the, oh, I need to preserve all my mana for you. But you do. There's still a conserve and a burn phase, but you still the mastery does not determine the damage off of your mana. It just gives you regeneration and maximum mana, and also the charges do more damage. So it's really good to have these charges. Also, there's a new resource. It's called Arcane Charges. You get them the same way off of the Arcane Blasts. So that's just same old, but it's basically better and different for you. So we're going to take a look at the Arcane talent tree because there's a little bit of changes. And for the first level 15, you have three choices of Arcane Familiar, which gives you a familiar that attacks if you're used to the familiar in Diablo 3. Your Presence of Mind causes your next two Arcane Blasts to be instant cast, which is really good. If you want to use your Presence of Mind instead of one, it gives you two. And then you have Word of Power, grants one increased chance to trigger arcane missiles per 20% of your mana you've spent. So the more mana you spend, the more procs of arcane missiles you get, and that's just a crazy amount of damage increase. So I went with this on both my my trees, which is a leveling tree and a raiding tree, or a multi-purpose like dungeon tree and a raiding tree. Next one down, it's the same three that you're familiar with: Cauterize, Cold Snap, and then there's the new one, Shimmer. We talked about this in the previous video, but I'm just going to tell you what it is anyways. It gives you 2 charges on your blink, and it allows you to teleport 20 yards forward. Cauterize is just a combination of the old Cauterize plus the speed boost, burst of speed. So it brings you down to 35% health, it jumps you up to 28%, and then it just burns away. And then you get your boost of speed. And then Cold Snap gets 2 charges on your ice block, and it also allows you to heal 3% of your maximum health every 1 second. So this is your PvP talent. In these leveling spec, grab Shimmer, just gives you more mobility. For the raiding one, you want to use Cauterize, especially if you're trying to stand still as an Arcane Mage using Rune of Power. You want Cauterize to keep you alive. Level 60, the 4th tier down, you're going to want Rune of Power. This is like by far the best arcane talent that there is. It places a Rune of Power on the ground for 10 seconds and increases your damage 50% while you're standing in it. You just can't argue with that. And Canter Slow actually helps with mobility if you are trying to be more mobile. You get a 20% flat increased damage, and then it diminishes to 4 by 4 increased damage every 10 seconds. So it's a good one. I picked that one most of the times, but if you're going to be raiding standing still, you're going to want to be in Rune of Power. The next one down, I said 60 before, this is actually 60, is going to be Charged Up. It grants you 4 arcane charges automatically, immediately, no questions asked. So you're going to want to go with that one. For the leveling one, people get Resonance a lot, especially if you're using AoE. So you want, Arcane Barrage deals 20% increased damage per target it hits. So Barrage will actually, bounce around for that. Next 75, Ice Ward and Ring of Frost, solely PvP, so you're going to want Icy Flows to help with your mobility, especially when you're trying to cast your Arcane Blasts on the run. So you just make a macro, for a like a moving Arcane Blast type of thing, just something like that. For level 90, we have a toss-up again between these three: Nether Tempest, Unstable Magic, or Erosion. Nether Tempest is good for leveling. It places another Tempest on the target. It deals 5,000 arcane damage over 12 seconds, and it spreads to all the enemies within 10 yards and actually does damage to them. It's pretty good AoE attack. Unstable Magic, 15% chance to explode on impact, dealing 50% extra damage. It's just your mind-numbing attack you're going to have every time you attack, so you might as well have it on there. Or you can go with Erosion. It means that your attacks erode the target's resistance, increasing all damage the target takes from your arcane spells by 1%, stacking up to 8 times. After 3 seconds of not taking damage from your spells, this effect is decreased by 1 every second. So every time you hit it with an arcane spell, it will actually keep the stacks up there and running. So yeah, after 8%, damage reduction is gone. Resistance, it's pretty good. For the level 100, you can either go with Arcane Orb or Quickening. Arcane Orb launches an Arcane Orb towards the position from your position, traveling 40 yards, dealing 5,000 to all the enemies that pass through it. Quickening, it actually says you have your blast, your missiles, and your explosion grants 2% haste for 6 seconds, and it stacks up to 100 times. Alright, so this is actually pretty good when you're building up your Quickening. However, if you use Barrage, it actually resets it just like your Arcane Charges. So it's fun. You can use it, get crazy amount of haste, especially when you get up to mastery and your mana regeneration is pretty good, and you're doing your burn phases and your opening sequence. You can actually do crazy amount of damage with this. So that right there is my rating build: Words of Power, Cauterize, Rune of Power, Charged Up, Ice Flows, Erosion, and Quickening. For if I were to do a leveling one, or an all-purpose one, like if I'm doing like a dungeon, it's going to look more like this. Alright, so it's going to actually give you more abilities to use, but actually it's a little bit better for doing runs. So I'm just going to fix this real quick so I can show you some things. Okay, pull this off the bars, dump it up. Alright, so on to the stats, because we all need to know stats. It's intellect, which everything on your items will have intellect, so it's a no-brainer that you need to stack your intellect. Mastery is next. Shocker, an Arcane Mage not needing mastery is unheard of. After that would be Critical Strike, Versatility, and then Haste. Alright, so looking at my gear, I am not really set up for Arcane either, more so than I was in my Frost video. But 26% crit, 19 haste, 19 mastery, 3 burst, 1 leech, 8 avoidance. I'm pretty sure I have some items somewhere that I can put on here to boost this up, but once I start getting gear in the Legion area, I do believe that those numbers will actually improve. So let me just reiterate. I'll actually say in the annotations as well: int, mastery, critical strike, burst, and haste. Alright, so we have a burn phase and a conservation phase as well. As an Arcane Mage, so everyone who's ever played Arcane Mage should be familiar with, someone says burn phase or conserve phase. And the opening is basically the burn phase, but just with a pre-pot, Rune of Power, Arcane Power type of thing. So we're just going to go with this. The opening phase starts off with a pot, then you precast your Arcane Blast, you activate your charged up Rune of Power, Arcane Power, and then you spam your Arcane Blasts. You use your missiles when activated. If you have Presence of Mind, go ahead and activate it. Place another Rune of Power right before it expires, and then just keep use your barrage when it's empty. Then you need to evocate. So you're going to want to barrage before you evocate to clear your charges, or you evocate then barrage, either way. But you want to do that right when you're at 0. And then for the conservation phase, it's just arcane missiles if you have 3 charges and not at 100. Barrage, use your explosion if you're near 3 enemies, or blast. So really, I'm just going to show you some of these conservations. There's a lot of ifs and that's if you have the talents. So like if you have Arcane Orb, or Nether Tempest, or the Nova, or if there's more than one target, you can go ahead and do that. But really, essentially, what it boils down to is just use your Rune of Power if you have 2 charges of it. Arcane Missile whenever you have 3 procs, or you're not at 100%. Barrage, and then blast. So that's your conservation. Your burn phase is make sure that you have 4 charges, Rune of Power if it's available, Arcane Power if it's available, missiles when available, and then just spam your blasts. Alright, so I don't have any potions because I don't really care, but I'm not really trying to show you how high of damage I can do. I'm just trying to show you the actual rotation. So assume that I'm potting, because I am potting. So we're going to say, okay, the timer's going down, so I'm going to pre-do this one. I'm going to charge up. I'm going to Rune of Power, Arcane Power, and then I'm just going to Arcane Blast. Alright, so it looks like I have 1 charge of missiles. I'm going to use that really quick, and then I'm going to Arcane Blast some more, and then, oh, I got more missiles. I'm going to use it. Alright. Going to use the Rune of Power, missiles again, and then I'm going to Arcane Blast, and I'm going to be out soon, Barrage, and then Evocate, and then I'm going to go straight into the conservation, which just means I'm just going to blast. Yep, I'm going to Arcane Missile here, blast, 1, missiles up. Missiles is up, Barrage is back up, Arcane Blasting, I have basically full mana, Arcane Power is almost up again, Evocation has 45 seconds, so I'm just going to just stick around doing this, so just doing your damage. That target dummy in the back is killing me. But there, I'm just going to keep trying to conserve mana. Probably just 1 Arcane Blast per rotation. We'll see how that goes. Because I feel like if I get more than 1 charge, I'm just wasting mana. I don't know. Doesn't really specify. Alright, missiles again. I'm at full. So barrage, missiles, I'm still at full. Evocation is coming up, so I'm just going to Rune of Power, charge up, and then I'm going to start spamming Arcane Blast again. Missiles because it's available, missiles because it's available. Don't clip your missiles because you just lose some damage. Here we go, doing that again. Rune of Power back down. Missiles, Arcane Power. A little late on that one, but it's still in the Rune of Power, so it's a good thing. And then just kind of using missiles as they come up, and yeah, that's basically the burn phase, all in a nutshell. Yeah, people are going to be trashing me. You can do a little better on the keeping up with the rotation, but I'm just showing you the skills that are available for the Arcane Mage. And those are basically all you need to do damage. Scata says I'm at 71k, but that's because I have this piece of shit training dummy in the background that's absorbing some of the barrages, and it's just spiking my damage. But whatever, it's a balance between conserve and burn, conserve and burn. I'll take some explanation on specifically how to do conserve phase, because it seemed like I was doing a lot better in the conservation phase, if I just cast Arcane Blast once and then Barrage immediately afterwards, and I use the missiles as AK. So I'd love some insight, but that's basically my take on the Arcane Mage in the 7.0.3. So if you have any comments, concerns, questions, or if you just want to be a dick, go ahead and post it in the comments below. Thank you for watching.